So the Warriors, like I said in the previous part, are chasing the Bulls' 44 game home game win streak. Right now, the Warriors have 43 home game win streak. They're going into the Oklahoma City Thunder game tomorrow on March 3rd, 3-3. Interesting, the Warriors' 43 home game win streak started on January 31st, 2015 when they beat the Phoenix Suns. I mean, just ridiculous. 131, Super Bowl equals 131, championship equals 131. It's the 13-31 mirrors, Oakland 31, Curry 31, all previously mentioned here. But look at the time span. 131 2015 to March 3rd 2016, a span of 1 year, 1 month, 3 days. The 113 again. And I also talked about this previously, but the last game, the home game that they lost was to the Bulls. Then the Bulls scored 113 points on them. And then I talked about the Portland stuff here in the last video. But interesting with the Portland stuff also, the date numerology 311 plus 20 plus 2000 or plus 16 equals 50. Remember they lost to Portland on the 50th day of the year. The Chicago Bulls are in their 50th season this season. Lots of 50 connections. Interesting, they don't play again until 3/11. Right now, the Warriors' record is 54-5 going into this game. They play in Oracle Arena. Oracle equals 54. It's just interesting. It's about the home game win streak. They have 54 wins going into this game. If they beat Oklahoma City, their record will be 55-5, which this is one of the prime reasons why I think they are going to actually win tomorrow. Especially since Oklahoma City lost tonight. Oklahoma City, what a horrible game anyway. Such a stupid rigged game tonight against the Clippers. You've got to be kidding me. They were up by like 17 or I think they were up by 17 in the fourth quarter, and Oklahoma City ended up losing the game. But if Oklahoma City would have won, moral of the story here, is they would have had their 43rd win of the season going in to try to break the Warriors' 43 home game win streak or whatever. So Oklahoma City would have got their 44th win against the Warriors, and the Warriors would have not got their 44th home game win streak. But now, since Oklahoma City lost, I think that the Warriors are going to beat them tomorrow. And their record will also be 55-5. The fifth prime number is 11. And I'm telling you, this number just associated with good things with multiple teams. If the Warriors don't win tomorrow, it'll also be interesting, I guess, because Oklahoma City will get their 43rd win, and then the Warriors will be stuck on their 43 game home game win streak. So I guess it could work that way, but I'm still going on this number 11, the 55-5. So who knows? Like I said, these are always tough to predict. There's all these patterns of the same stuff over and over, but I can't fully figure out the pattern and what's going to happen. I'm still working at it and whatnot. Anyway, the Warriors have a chance to tie the 44-game win streak 44 days before the playoffs begin on April 16th, which also just so happens to be a span of 1 month and 13 days. It's also a span of 6 weeks and 2 days. The 6-2, the finals begin on 6-2. It's also 91 days before 6-2. The date numerology of the day the NBA Finals begin is 44. So literally, tomorrow, if the Warriors win, they'll have their 44th home game win streak 44 days before the playoffs begin, 91 days before the NBA Finals begins that has a date numerology of 44. The Warriors also in their 44th season. Steve Kerr, their coach, came back on the 44th game of the year. Although this could be a bad thing because the word kill equals 44. And I've also noticed the number 91 a lot with elimination and death. So, interesting. It's 91 days before the NBA Finals begin. But I guess it just depends on who wins and how it goes down and all that. So, also interesting to point out, tomorrow's date numerology is 3 plus 3 plus 20 plus 16, which adds up to 42. And the word 5 equals 42 and 24 in Gematria. Just interesting that they would be 55 and 5. Also, if they beat the Thunder will still have their 42 wins and not 43. Also, in regards to the Warriors being coded to Chicago, the NBA season began on 10/27/2015. The Warriors' first loss was on 12/12, which is a span of 46 days. Chicago equals 46 in Gematria. Talked a lot about that previously with the Super Bowl. All the Panthers were coded to the Bears. The Broncos were coded to the Bears. It was the 85 Bears who won Super Bowl 20, scoring 46 points using the revolutionary 4-6 defense. I mean, Chicago equals 46. This is also the day that Back to the Future ends in 1985. Literally, it was when the Royals won the World Series. There's even a Broncos clock in the movie Back to the Future. I mean, what are the odds of that? If you go from that day to the day of the Super Bowl, it was a span of 3 months and 11 days. So the Broncos, whose clock was in Back to the Future, they won the Super Bowl 3 months and 11 days after Back to the Future ends. It's also the day that Philadelphia turned 333 years old this year. Remember, the Warriors used to be from Philadelphia. Also, 10/27 to 12/12. Not only is it 46 days, it's 1 month, 15 days. The Warriors, that was the Warriors' first loss. Their last loss was to Portland on 2/19, which was 15 days after 10/27. So the Warriors haven't lost back-to-back games yet this season. The 95-96 Bulls lost back-to-back one time. It was their 45th and their 46th games. Interesting, too, their 46th game, they lost to Phoenix. Phoenix equals 46, just like Chicago. So interesting, they lost their 46th game to Phoenix. They added up to 46, just like Chicago. The Bulls' losses before that were their 6th game. Then they lost their 12th game. Then they lost 12 games later. So they lost their 26th game. It was on January 26th against the Pacers. They lost their 26th game on the 26th day of the year. It was even like multiples of 6 here. The 6 and 6 games later, then 12 games later. The Bulls' 44-game win streak started 11 days after Michael Jordan first came out of retirement against the Pacers. And remember, Jordan wore number 45. So interesting, they lost the 45th and 46th game, but Jordan wore number 45 for 22 games, and then he switched back to number 23 on the 23rd game back. The Bulls won their 44th home game exactly 53 weeks after their streak began. And look when they won their 44th home game. 4-4. They won their 44th home game in a row on 4-4, exactly 53 weeks after their 44-game win streak began. Give me a break. It was also Michael Jordan's 99th game since he came back, and that's counting the 10 playoff games that they had. And they lost the streak to the Hornets on the 99th day of the year, 4-8 of 1996. And this 99 sticks out a lot. I've noticed it a lot in regards to the 44 connection. Abraham Lincoln died 9 hours, 9 minutes after being shot. The first president to die in office was the 9th president The next president to die in office will be the ninth president to die in office, so the 99. The first president to die in office also died on April 4th, 4/4, the same day Martin Luther King Jr. died. Interesting, too, if Obama dies in office, Obama's the 44th president. The last president to die in office was JFK, the 44th term president. That was 9 presidents ago. The 35th president. Obama's the 44th president. Obama sung Amazing Grace at Clementa Pinckney's funeral last year on 6/26. It was 9 days after 9 people got shot. Also, 9 months and 9 days before 4/4 of 2016. Also, another interesting thing here, I've talked about how I think it's going to be the Cavs and the Warriors. There's a few things that make me question it, but at the same time, I'm still really think that the Warriors are going to win it all this year, and they're going to beat the Cavs. In the next video, I'll talk about why I think there's a possibility it could be the Thunder versus the Cavs. But anyway, the season started off. The NBA season this year started off. The first game of the season was the Bulls versus the Cavs. So if the Warriors are coded to the Chicago Bulls, it seems very fitting that they would play the Cavs. Varejao even played 11 minutes in that game because Varejao was a former Cleveland Cavalier. Anyway, going to leave it at that on this one. In the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about Oklahoma City and the, like I said, the Cleveland Cavaliers. But what's interesting about all of this to me is that it really seems like they're pointing to this day, March 11th or 113-311. We've seen it before. It had a lot to do with the Paris attacks. So, it's just a day to look out for sure. And we've said that before, but I just started noticing a lot of this coding again. So, wanted to put that out there. And, who knows? We'll see what happens tomorrow and see how it all plays out and try to figure out the pattern. So, anyway, have a good night.